Hey, everybody, welcome to the podcast. It is September 18th, and I have something fun today. I know I had something fun yesterday, but today's even more fun. And I wish I had my hat. If I had a hat, I'd put my hat on. And I want you to put on your trench coat. I did get this very cool shirt at the thrift store today. It says Trump is a kook. I don't know why they had this at the thrift store, but it has like a little star on one of the sleeves and it's very cute. But I just like it that it's script and it says Trump is a kook. Like, why did somebody make the shirt? It's clearly made by someone. And then they got rid of it already as if they thought it was over. That's probably what happened. They probably thought it was over. And yet here we are. So here's what we're doing today. Today we're looking at this is part one of two. We're going to do two pods. Tomorrow is going to be the other part. But today we're going to look at the convicted criminals that are in Trump's inner circle. So here's the deal. As you know, you can, if you look at the all the things influencing the election, right? So we start at the center, and we have basically the core stuff, which is going to be your RNC platform, right? Right at the Republican National Convention, the party decides its platform. In this case, the party did not really have a strong platform. They have a platform, but it's not very long. It's not very robust because essentially they're planning to go for what's happening with Project 2025, right? So that's the plan. So there's not a lot of reason for them to put a lot of work into the RNC plan other than to sugarcoat what's going to come from Project 2025. You know, the best way to get the frog to stay in the pot that's boiling is you turn the water up slowly, right? The water heats slowly. That's essentially what the plan is for the RNC, is the water's going to heat slowly. Okay, so that being the case, we know that concentric, the way that circles go, it starts with the RNC, and then you come out and you get Project 25, and then you come out and you start to get the push from the media and from the constituents and from all that. That's fine. That's how you would have policy kind of flow out and flow back in. There's a feedback loop. It's an open system. It's not dying system. It's not entropy. Although in the Trump campaign, you never know. But here's the deal. There are some people that he keeps close to him, very close. And we're going to see, I think it's coming out in October. There's a movie coming out about Trump and Roy Cohn. And I didn't go into Roy Cohn because he's dead, but and I'm never going to be able to do what the movie's going to do, right? Why? Somebody's doing it like with money and with staff. I'm just sitting here at the Jen Carroll show. So that movie's coming out in October. That should be very interesting to find out what Trump learned, how he kind of nurtured his narcissism with Roy, who was a bad guy. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It was a bad guy. And so that's Trump and Roy. But Trump has others that he surrounds himself with as well. And let me, before we get into it, first of all, it's an A. I tried to find the source of this. It's probably ASAP, but then I don't even know who ASAP was and what was he doing. I don't know. ASAP, great name, can't spell it if you're a kid. But someone said, and if it goes back to ASAP, you can judge a man by the company he keeps. That's a pretty valid statement. I think any of us who have been alive for a while understand that the people we hang out with is really revelatory about who we are, right? It reveals where we put our priorities. It reveals where we put our energy. I'm laughing because for someone like me, it's so hard to get my sorry butt out of the house because, well, it doesn't help that I'm super broke. So when you're broke, you never want to leave because why? You can't spend any money. But that idea of, like, the people I choose to invest my energy into, which is how I feel like that's where I'm going to spend my spoons, as my daughter would say, which is a cool new way for Richard Simmons deal and meal. Remember, we used to get like points and you could spend your points during the day. Well, now apparently the kids say spoons, and you run out of spoons and you're dead. I should probably go look at the Urban Dictionary about that, but spoons is where it's at, baby. Spoons is even in Candy Crush. So, spoons have got to be happening. Anyway, you can choose where you spend your spoons or your energy, and it does reveal who you are by the company you keep. It's absolutely guilt by association. That's the other way of saying it. Guilt by association. So, okay. So we have this inner circle. And while Project 2025 outlines this ambitious public vision for reshaping America, Trump's inner circle actually has a much darker picture. These are the convicted, the extremists, the disruptors, the men who continue to support Trump. And there's a few women, but there's not a lot of women. And the women, unfortunately, he tends to pick over-sexualized women, and they tend to be bad shit. So I don't know. I don't know. I wonder if injecting all that Botox into your lips, like maybe I don't know, does it go to your brain? I always worried about it here. It's too close to your brain. If it's right by your forehead. Anyway, let's not talk about lips. We could have a separate discussion about that. But the deal is that these are the people who have underhanded tactics and use them to undermine democracy. These criminals don't care about democracy. They're criminals. They've already broken the law. These are literally four men who have been convicted and charged and convicted people, not Trump himself. We all know his crimes, whatever. I'm going to set that over there because somehow nobody seems to give a crap, right? Only those that do. But these four men are are four of the closest men. I'm going to give you four more tomorrow. But today, these guys are the old guard. These are the criminals. And they have these tactics, and here's who they are. They're Steve Bannon, Roger Stone, Rudy Giuliani, and Michael Flynn. And you have heard all those names. I know you have, but I'm not sure you realize how close they are to Trump and how they are still in it. So that's why we're going to talk about this today. And then tomorrow's people are kind of the new guard. One is what couple of them, have been around, but they're really poised to step in during this new administration if Trump were to win. So I feel like examining the people closest to Trump, who is a known narcissist, it's really important because Trump's pathology, so his narcissism, his need to be the best, the middle, the everything, that narcissism thrives on a couple important things. Loyalty, which he cannot talk enough about that. He wants loyalty, 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 loyalty. That's what a narcissist needs. They don't even understand any other kind of loyalty except the kind that's basically a sycophantic loyalist that constantly is a fluffer for Trump. And if you don't know what a fluffer is, don't Google it because you're going to be shocked. It doesn't have anything to do with animals. I'm just saying these guys are just there to make Trump happy. So the way it works is Trump thrives on loyalty and flattery. Flattery is the key, right? That's just blowing smoke up the skirt, right? And Trump tends to surround himself with individuals who echo his own worldview rather than challenge him. That's important. He doesn't want people that's going to challenge his worldview. So these men know how to play Trump's ego, whispering promises of unchecked power, political revolutions, and dismantling of the deep state, which, by the way, they kind of are the deep state, but that's okay. So as they go about doing their business with dismantling the deep state, as narcissists are highly susceptible to the influence of those who affirm their greatness, these individuals are not just advisors, they become extensions of Trump's will. So they're just actors. If my will is to go do something. They're actors. They will go actually execute on Trump's desires. That's what that means. So while Project 2025 lays out a clear but terrifying agenda for reshaping America under conservative principles, the figures in Trump's inner circle operate in the shadows. And they do. It was even hard to find a lot of information about them because the only time they tend to be a magnet for attention is when they pop their little heads up like whack-a-mole. Meanwhile, they're underneath the ground doing their bad things, but they'll pop their head up. They'll get whacked by the media. We'll tell them to sit back down. It's not make them go away. It just makes them go underground. So this is the whack-a-mole crowd. And all of them, their agendas aren't about conservative governance. Not these guys, not this crowd right here is not about governance. They're not even about democracy. They're about subverting democracy for personal gain. And that is maybe the underlying construct of Project 2025 as well. And it kind of disgusts me because it happened at Trump's event yesterday with Sarah Huckabee Sanders, because it's so disgusting. It's all about Trump's gain, and it's about personal gain. There's even Sarah Sanders is doing it. There's so many allegations of her stealing the state's money. Holy crap, your governor is stealing I don't know why you guys picked her as your governor. Anyway, woman's a dipshit, but I know dipshits, so there you go. Woman's a dipshit, but there you go. You got what you got. But it's about personal gain. These nefarious people, and Mike Huckabee is right up there. So don't think Sarah fell far from the Huckatree. But anyway, Unlike Project 2025, which wants to shape the institutions from the outside in, right? Here's our plan. Here's what we're going to do. At least with Project 2025, you get to know what the plan. They wrote it down. Doesn't mean we like it. I'm going to fight it to my last dying breath because I care about this planet and I care about all of you. I'm going to fight it. But the fact is, at least it's from the outside in. But these men surrounding Trump work from the inside out. Just, I think the whack-a-mole metaphor is the best. What are the moles doing before they pop their heads up? They're underneath having a huge whack-a-mole life. It's dark. It's filled with dust and lint and whatever falls off of whack-a-mole whackers. But they are down there. Those whack-a-moles, the moles are still down there. So that's what these guys are doing, working in the dark. They have no interest in policy debates or constitutional fidelity, meaning what they do doesn't align with the Constitution. For them, victory at only cost is the goal. And that's really how they talk about it. Trump win, Trump win. We make Trump win. So what I've put together is little dossiers. And I want to take you through the little dossiers. You can get a closer, unfortunately, if you're on video, you're going to get a closer look at them, but you don't have to be watching to see their ugly faces. That's really all the video is going to show you is their faces. But I threw together a little dossier of each of them so you could really understand how their minds work, because I think that's what we miss out on. We hear about their actions, but we don't understand what is it they're doing and why are they doing it. So let me take you in. I'm just going to go into sharing my screen. And I have a few slides for people that are tuning in from YouTube. But if you're not tuning in, it's fine because the slides don't matter. They're not that important. I'm going to tell you what I'm saying. But really, let's take a look at Trump's inner circle and the convicts. And of course, you know, the first convict is Steve Bannon, and he is known as the strategist. He's 70 years old. He was built. Do you understand how I can live alone? I crack myself up. He wasn't built in 1953. He was born in 1953. Although I have questions. Is he really a human? I think we know he's human because he's so disgusting. It's Roger Stone. I'm not sure if he's human. He's like not, he's malformed. But Steve Bannon's just gross. So yes, he was built in November 1953. He's 70 years old. He's an old guy. And he was the former chief strategist in the Trump administration, in the first Trump administration, and he is considered a far-right nationalist. You might as well, I don't think Bannon's Christian, but you could say white Christian nationalist. Bannon's still going to like the white nationalist part. So the only part I don't think Bannon plays in is the Jesus part, but every other part, yes. Here's the deal. Steve Bannon has made it clear that he views democracy as inherently flawed and corrupt. Absolutely positively. He says it's flawed and corrupt. And his infamous desire is to deconstruct the administrative state. This man is for the pure, there was a story on Twitter. I mean, it's one of those, it was like a folklore story that was going around about how there was a mayor who decided they were going to have no government. And the town got run over by bears. Like the bears took over the town because there was no government. There's no trash pickup. There was no deliveries. There was no keeping things neat and orderly. Like there was just no government, and the bears took over. So of course it's bears. I don't know. Bears get such a rap. Don't tell Stephen Colbert. He hates bears. But the point is, this man does not believe in democracy. I feel like you are escorted out. If you don't want to have a democracy, why don't you? There's so many other countries you could go to, sir. Although turns out you wouldn't do so well in an authoritarian regime if you didn't have the connections that you have right now. So interesting. But he wants to deconstruct the administrative state, and he shows contempt for the way modern democracies operate in his activities. He is a populist. He believes in populist revolutions, and the only way to do it is to disrupt what he sees as entrenched elites who dominate political institutions. So if you are way out there on the verge and want to be a wingnut, Steve Bannon's your guy. I happen to be a wingnut sometimes, but I tend to want to influence things through conventional means, mostly because then there's expectations and accountability and all kinds of cool stuff, and I'm not breaking the law. So this Steve Bannon, he's running amok. Here's why Trump trusts him. He is able to channel anger and frustrations of disenfranchised voters and align them with Trump's narrative. So if you can imagine, that's what he does on his show. He goes and he just goes right for the vitriol, and he stays right in that soup of being disenfranchised. And frankly, at this point, I don't know how you decide you're a disenfranchised voter. I just don't. It's interesting. But if you were disenfranchised, I probably want to talk to you and figure out how did we leave you out and how are you getting run over? Because yeah, it's a big country and there's a lot of people and you can easily get run over. I mean, and I mean run over by bureaucracy, run over by technicalities, run over by nonsense. There are people fighting medical bills right now who've been run over. So that's true. And you could be disenfranchised, but I'm not sure why it affects your voting in such a direct way, especially for president, because president isn't about I want my groceries to be lower. Like that's not really a president's job. It's a president's mission to set out a vision that will lower groceries, but you have to also have the people who price the groceries lower them. So yeah, there's problems. Okay, but disenfranchised voters is who he targets, and he manipulates public perception through misinformation. It's exactly what he does. His impact so far has been Breitbart. If you know about Breitbart, he brought that thing, it rose in popularity because it's for white nationalists and far right figures. So if you don't listen to Breitbart, that's probably good because there's not a real reason to listen to Breitbart unless you just want to hear outrage and get aggravated. I'm not sure if it's on right now while he's gone. It probably is. I wouldn't turn it off. I'd find somebody to do my job for me while I was in jail. He also is big on immigration policy. He helped shape Trump's harsh immigration policies, including the Muslim travel ban. I'm sorry to talk like I type these days. Lots of tacos. No, typos. No, tacos. It can't be a typo. That's a taco. Holy crap, this is as bad as Fluffle. Voter fraud campaigns. Bannon has been instrumental in spreading false claims of voter fraud. And that culminated in January 6th. And he was a big part of January 6th. And he's still coming back out of jail soon. And he's going to get in it. And unfortunately, it's been nice to have him gone. He went in June, July, August. Ugh. June, July, August, September. I think he's going to get out pretty soon. Ari Melber will know. He already has an interesting passion for criminals. So there's Bannon. And here's the deal. He has an MO. His MO is to create chaos and discredit democratic institutions. That's absolutely his modus operandi. And he does that through media strategies, pitting people against traditional structures, elevating far-right nationalist ideologies. He's giving a voice to people that shouldn't have a voice. And then his criminal behavior, why he was charged with a crime and convicted, was defrauding donors in the We Build the Wall campaign, but he was pardoned by Trump. Interestingly, he was convicted in 2022 for not complying with a Congress subpoena for the coup because he would have been under oath. And I guess it's easier to go to jail for not telling the truth than it is to go tell the truth. So there's Steve Bannon. That's number one. Number two, and I apologize in advance because Steve Bannon was hard to look at. I apologize. It's going to get worse because the next guy up is Roger Stone. And he is known as the dirty trickster. He is 72 years old. These guys are up there, folks. To think you've lived 70 years of your life and you're still grinding on your hate. I guess that's it. But Trump's 78 and he's grinding on his hate. So there you go. And JD is just learning how. So I guess this is what you do. But his affiliation is he's a long time Trump advisor. And I mean long time. This goes way back. NYC. Trump was affiliated with racists a long time ago. All his behavior in New York City is around racism. So he attracted these guys. And I do think Roger Stone goes back to Roy Cohn. We'll find out when that movie comes out. But he's an old geezer. And Stone's views on democracy is his disdain for traditional democratic processes. He enjoys using dirty tricks to influence elections, and his willingness to embrace misinformation and conspiracy theories demonstrates his belief that democracy can be bent to suit personal or political needs. He enjoys being a master manipulator. He likes manipulating public opinion and prioritizing Trump's interests over democratic norms and the rule of law. Roger Stone is Nixon. In fact, I'm going to tell you, here's why Trump trusts him. Trump trusts him because of his longstanding loyalty and ruthless political strategies. Stone's dedication to doing whatever it takes to win, whether legal or not, is an approach Trump admires. That's Trump's whole thing. He thinks power is about being the loudest, biggest bully in the room. Trump thinks that's power. I mean, I guess it is power in a weird way, but it's not effective and it's not productive and it's not leadership kind of power. People will follow you because you care about them and because you've clearly articulated a path. People follow Trump, I think, because they have some sort of weird projection onto him that he is them and that he can do things they can't do. Like wear diapers and can't hold his bowels. Okay, sorry. I didn't want to give you it's aromatherapy. Okay, so Trump loves him for that. Trump loves him for his nastiness. Stone's impact has been Nixon's dirty tricks. Stone's early career helped shaped his view on political sabotage and how it can win elections. So he was part of that Nixon mess. He was part of the 2016 election and WikiLeaks, if you remember WikiLeaks, which this starts to get exhausting, right? I can't even remember all of these things that have happened that are so bad. But Roger Stone was all a big part of that. And then, of course, the election fraud, the coup. Roger, we believe, was the absolute concierge for the Proud Boys and I almost said Denny Terrio. And I believe Denny Terrio is from a dance show that I grew up with during my childhood. So I'm sorry for that. I think it's Danny Terrio is the Proud Boys guy. It always cracks me up that as a Hispanic last name, but whatever. Yes, Roger is the one who brings the assholes to the party, and he'll do it over and over again. He's really good at it. He hangs out with them. Those are his people. So what is his MO? Really, when you think of why you want to call Roger for a favor, you want to call him because he's a political provocateur. He just provokes everybody. He likes to manipulate the media, and he's big on disinformation. So that's how you use him. He's a mouthpiece. He's going to be a little bit different than the mouthpiece we're going to talk about in a minute. Roger's a nefarious mouthpiece who talks to all those people nobody else will talk to. So he's that guy. His MO is to, his bigger MO is to willingly push baseless conspiracy theories, including stop the steal and undermining the foundations of democracy. His criminal behavior was in 2019 for obstruction and lying to Congress and witness tampering during the Mueller investigation. He was sentenced to 40 months in prison, but I know this is going to surprise you. He was later pardoned by Trump, signaling the closeness of their alliance. So, yes, the man who should have been in jail, this cretin right here, should have been in jail, but Trump let him out. But wait, there's still two more that I'm going to tell you that are convicts. The next one, if you guessed it, Rudy Giuliani. It's not just hair dye dripping down my face, ladies and gentlemen. This man used to be one of the biggest law enforcement guys in our country. He was America's mayor, remember? After 9/11, he was right there. He was in it. His life so could have gone two different ways, but it turns out, and I didn't know this about him, there's more to him than I realized, that his views of democracy are a little different and actually were visible then, although I'm not a New Yorker and I didn't see his daily stuff. And if you go back to 9/11, it's going to get me a lot younger. And I was going to have a baby. I mean, I was just super pregnant. No, Katie was actually, no, I just had a baby. So it's funny how where you are in your life, how much you don't notice the news. So I didn't really pay attention to Giuliani during 9/11. He was just there and you heard his name and you thought, okay, America's mayor. That's exactly what this is. He's 80 years old. He's really old. I mean, there's 80 years old Meryl Streep, 80 years old, and then there's 80 years old Rudy Giuliani, 80 years old. He's definitely old 80, not young 80. Okay, but here's the deal. Here's his views on democracy. He has increasingly embraced anti-democratic tendencies, particularly since joining Trump's team. He was once praised for his leadership after 9/11, but his reputation has been tarnished by participating in Trump's attempts to overturn the 2020 election. Not only that, he supported conspiracy theories that seek to undermine democratic institutions and spread false claims, and showing a blatant disregard for the democratic process. It's really inconsistent with him being a lawyer, but that's how he thinks about things. So his impact is that he I'm sorry, his impact is that he was Trump's personal lawyer. So he was there to overturn the 2020 election. He was part of the Ukraine scandal. And so I'm going to tell you that there's a movie coming out Friday night, a documentary on MSNBC. It's Rachel Maddow's movie. It's To Russia with Lev. I think you've heard about this. I've got the information at the bottom of the blog. I think you should watch it or tape it. I suppose it'll be streaming after that. But it's on MSNBC on Friday night at, oh, well, okay. I don't, it's 5 p.m. I believe it's 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Eastern time and 9 p.m. for the movie. 8 p.m. is Rachel coming on to talk about the movie, and then at 9 p.m. is the movie. So I have to always do the California math thing. So I was just doing time zones. But yes, I remember she said it would be on 8 to 8 and then the movie at 9. So I think for us that means 5 and 6. But I don't know. I'll have to find out. They might actually change programming so we have it like we're a network, like not cable, like we're a real network, and make sure it comes on at 8 and 9 here too. But we'll see. Anyway, let's get back to Rudy. Here's the deal. He's going to come up in that show with Lev because he was all over the Ukraine scandal. And that was when, if you'll just do us a favor, if you'll just do us a favor. And then, of course, his role in January 6th, which now is just humiliating how far he went with that. But his MO is to push legal boundaries. That has always been his MO from his days as U.S. attorney. This is what I didn't know. He was pushing it as an attorney. He when he was prosecuting the mafia, interesting because since he's joined his own in this case, he reveled in high profile cases and dramatic flair, often stretching legal tactics to their limits. I might need to know more about that since I like the law. I wonder what he did. I always think if I'd been a lawyer, I would have been like super dramatic because why do it if you're not going to be dramatic, right? That's what makes good television. But since becoming Trump's personal lawyer, Giuliani has adopted similar methods, stoking chaos and conspiracy theories through media appearances, baseless legal filings, and his disdain for democratic norms, once masked by his mayoral success, have become all too clear in his efforts to overturn the last presidential election. His criminal behavior, by the way, his MO is to push the legal boundaries, but his criminal behavior has been legal challenges, including a 2023 indictment relating to the Georgia election racketeering case, and that is ongoing. He lost. There's a settlement against him. They're just trying to pry the money out of his cold, disbarred hands. He's also been disbarred. He's tarnished the crap out of his legacy. And then the last one, and we haven't heard a lot from this one, and this person is interesting because he is the youngest of this set of criminals. And also, I believe he is the most religious. The other, Bannon and Stone and Rudy, if they believe in any kind of religion, it's certainly not in their lexicon, and they're not out talking about religion. But this next one is, and he often shows up in religious places. And in some ways, it kind of scares me a little bit more because it means he's in heavy with QAnon and with the religious, the white Christian evangelicals, white Christian nationalists. So these three men that we're talking about now could be white Christian nationalists, but they just don't have that white nationalists. They don't have that Christian part in there. So who I am talking about, of course, is Michael Flynn. Michael Flynn is known as the general because he was a general. He was a big damn deal. He was born in 1958. He's 65 years old, so contemporary, kind of a little a late boomer. He's 1958, right there, right on the edge. His views on democracy. Since leaving the military, he's taking on an increasingly authoritarian stance on democracy. His calls for martial law to overturn the election reveal his deep disregard for the democratic process. In fact, I don't even think we know the extent to which the Flynns, he and his brother, were involved in January 6th. I do think that the hearings proved a lot, but there's probably more in the little mole thing under the whack-a-mole down where the moles hang out that we don't even know about. He has aligned himself with conspiracy theories that seek to delegitimize democratic institutions, such as the QAnon movement, which undermines the fabric of democratic governance. He has promoted extreme actions to keep Trump in power, demonstrating a willingness to subvert democratic principles. This is a man who currently draws a retirement salary from the U.S. military. And yet he is working against democracy in all that he does right now. In fact, I think if I were to go look up, he has a PAC, I believe he has a political action committee and some other activities that he does to again, these guys always got to be moving money, right? There's always money moving around. I feel like it's the world's largest money laundering thing going on with Trump, because I've just never seen so much money. And then it all comes to Laura. Then it all comes back to Laura Trump, and that's who's going to control the purse strings, because she knows how many legal bills have to be paid. Anyway, Michael Flynn, and here's the deal with Michael Flynn. Trump really loves him because, well, first of all, because he's a general, right? Like that. Ooh, that gets him close to the military, and Trump does so badly with the military. But in this case, this is great. But Trump also likes him because he's willing to do extreme and undemocratic things, not unpatriotic. I'm sure he thinks they're all patriotic, undemocratic things to protect Trump's presidency. And Flynn has a lot of influence over far right groups and public advocacy for overturning election results. So Flynn ginned up a lot of that among the QAnon crowd, the crowd with which he hangs now. So he was responsible for a lot of that bad behavior. And here's some of the things he's done. If you just wonder what kind of like player is he undermined the Obama administration by communicating with Russian officials. Oh yeah, Flynn's one of our big Russian influencers. He's all about power and authoritarianism. So he's down with Putin. Down with OPP. Oh no, sorry. Once again, I tell you how old I am by doing these really bad. Get down with OPP. That was other people's property. I think that's the clean version. Anyway, he undermined the Obama administration and created diplomatic tensions and demonstrated his disregard for governance. He, of course, had everything to do with the 2020 election fraud and martial law. His advocacy for martial law to overturn the election results was unprecedented, especially for a general. And then his QAnon influence, which is the one thing so Roger Stone kind of owns the white supremacists, and Flynn owns the whack jobs of QAnon. His MO is to promote far right. He promotes anything that's really far right. And if they're anti-democratic ideologies, that's what he does. And he, hang on just a second, he demonstrates his willingness to do this by using his platform to rally support through Trump through misinformation and conspiracy theories, often aligning himself with dangerous extremist movements. Have you guys ever seen the QAnon stuff where they do that thing with the numbers and the numbers of the letters equal stuff? It's like Shamatra or Kamatra or something. I need to look that up. We all need to do that. We should be messaging together with that weird number thing. Anyway, that's QAnon. That's some of his jam. So this is why I wanted to bring this to you, because I think it's important that we know who his closest players are. So these are the old guard. These are the criminals. Tomorrow we'll talk about the youngsters, the new guard. They are racist and misogynist. I know that shocks you, but bear with me. And the reason I wanted to focus on this really explains that the threat is more than we're pretending like we're doing a real election right now, right? We're pretending that there's two people who have the best interests of America in play. We're all pretending that. The thing is that that's not really what's happening here. What we have is a corrupt ex-president who should be in jail for the things that he's done, including the incredibly bad transfer of power. I mean, we kind of just went and wrenched it out of his hands, didn't we? So that man needs to be in prison, but he's not. And so what he is weird because he's a convicted felon, but he's hanging out with felons. And I think the way they play this game is they're like not in the same room at the same time. Well, if they are, they're under the whack-a-mole. They're under that whack-a-mole cover. So we don't know if they're together at any time or not. But the reason it's so important is that these men have been convicted of crimes and guilty of undermining democratic norms, and they still wield influence with Trump's political operation. Conspiracy theories, populism, extreme nationalism. I mean, the JD is out there pimping this as hard as he can. They want to make everybody hate each other and then ride in on their Trojan horse and take over the country with their Christian white nationalism. Got to get this. You've got to get other people to understand this. I'm going to wrap up my conclusion because the thing is, you guys know these guys are bad. You can read the blog if you want to read more about the conclusion. What I want you to do is I want you to remind people these guys are still in play. And I want you to have your attenuation turned up so you hear their names if they show up. I want you to still listen for QAnon. It's pretty buried right now. I'm actually shocked how a lot of the stuff that was everywhere during the coup, and then even everywhere as this stupid Trump kept going in the planet, he has a way of cultivating the madness. In fact, well, he talks like he's mad anyway, but I wanted to bring this up because we're going to see this documentary come out with from Russia with Lev, and we've got to pay attention to the people that are surrounding our candidates. And tomorrow you're going to find out even more. And tomorrow might be oddly a little more sickening, based on who these people are and the fact that they're all probably at least 20 years younger, if not 40 years younger. So this is the newer generation coming up. They're more likely to be peers with Kamala than Trump and these old guys. These are old farts, except for maybe Flynn. They're old farts. They need to go away with Trump. I'm sorry, I'm aging. I love geezers, but I don't like geezers running my country, especially criminal ones. So I will see you tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for following this podcast. I really appreciate it. I hope this is helping you find your way, and feel free to talk with me on Twitter and or you can email me. There's always my contact information on my website. Thank you for listening.